He said, told me he's not gonna help.
Okay.
This is so minor.
Yeah.
Did that woman Jean ever contact you?
Contacted me.
I forget her last name.
Was it Ramos?
Rumley, yeah.
I'll tell you.
All right, we're ready.
I'm ready. You need 2 greens.
Need 2 greens?
Yeah, you need no red. You need no. So in a minute.
Oh. We're good now?
No.
Oh.
As long as there's no red.
Oh, it's like on, off,
You see, we don't.
blinking.
It's like a Christmas tree order.
In the future, he'll be able to announce we're ready to go, but not today.
What do we put in the speaker system?
They'll have a microphone. I don't know what he's really.
Maybe that's five. I think it's saying it's,
think
yeah.
it's
I think it means it's gonna blow
Okay,
up.
I guess that's multiple blinking means go. Alright,
Either that or self-destruct.
alright, welcome, today is Tuesday, September 12th, this is Zoning Board of Appeals, I'm the Chair, Ryan Cook. I'm gonna introduce everyone to start with, and then we'll get right into the first part of the business. So, we do have a quorum. On my far right is our clerk, Timothy McCall. To his left is Vice Chair John Curran. To my immediate right is Jeremy Kay, and to my immediate left is Ed Watson. First item up tonight is we need to correct a variance that was issued in 2022 for 149 Lincoln Street. Tim, do you have, because this is it's sort of a correction, is it just a matter of I just go over what it is? And,
Yes.
all right, so basically, so this was it's right around the corner from my house. That it was they board dogs and limited to 5 or whatever. That the wrong one?
Yes.
That's the wrong-
Okay.
No, this was Mark Parrott.
Oh, Mark's first. I'm sorry. I apologize. So 149 Lincoln Street. So just drove by it. They're putting a house up there. There was a change in the plans where in the decision it didn't have the updated plan date in it. So this is just a simple correction to update the variance to have the correct plans. Right. All right. So really, all we need to do is call a vote on that.
Right.
And need a supermajority in that. So we would need a motion to make that amendment, just update the variance to record the proper updated plan identification.
So moved.
Okay, we have first. Second. We'll give that to John Curran, since he was the first. Any discussion? Everybody clear on what this is? All right, we'll just do it by hand vote. All those in favor? All right, that's 5-0. I don't even see the rest of it. Okay. Let's move on. We'll do approval of minutes and stuff at the end. Let's move on to the public hearing. Ms. McCall, you want to start off with 23-4, please?
Will do. Eastern Board of Appeals to hold a public hearing on Tuesday, September 12th, 2023, 6:30 p.m. at the Easton Town Hall, Colony Corona Boardroom, 136 Elm Street, Eastern Mass, on the following petition. Special permit, Nancy Gildersleeve, in the Puppy Shack for property located at 213 Bay Road, Northeastern Mass. Assessors map 5R, lot 35B, for a special permit pursuant to Eastern Code Book Chapter 235, zoning section 235-56, and 235 Appendix A1, Table of Use Regulations H6I8. Applicant seeks to modify special permit for an existing dog kennel. This notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org. Following comments are made. DPW and the Police Department not applicable. Board of Health did not recommend. Please note that 5 minutes or longer barking can be considered public nuisances or noise. Also, noise that is 10 dBs, decibels above background, can also be considered a noise nuisances. This is only looked into on a complaint basis. Mark Taylor. Environmental planner recommend impacts on natural environment could include contamination from pet waste through stormwater runoff. Is there a pet waste removal plan? Property contains buffer zone to wetlands and may contain some wetland if western property line not shown on the plans. Thank you. Building department did not recommend. Complaints exist from neighbors. Often overcapacity and size of dogs often exceeds the limit from the original special permit. Historical Commission and Affordable Housing are not applicable. Planning and Zoning, status complete. On September 5th, 2023, Planning and Zoning Board discussed a special permit application for 213 Bay Road and voted 3-0 to provide no comment. I guess 3-0 to approve, says,
No, to provide no comment.
no, that's a vote to provide no comment?
Sure was.
Interesting. Okay, that's it.
All right, the applicant's here.
Yes.
Come on up.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Edward Valenzola with Valenzola Law Group, offices in Mansfield. I represent Nancy Gildersleeve and the Puppy Shack Inc. The property address is 213 Bay Road. Now, from the outset, it's teed up as an application for a special permit because that's the form that was online, but I try to make it clear in the application form that what we're seeking to do is amend the 2016 special permit. So the March 2nd, 2016, the Zoning Board of Appeals issued a special permit, which was for 8 dogs, 3 overnight, to operate a dog kennel business in this zone. The applicant tonight is seeking your approval to increase it to up to 15 dogs with 5 dogs overnight. This isn't a business zone. There appears to be some confusion from 2016 decision. I was not involved with that, but I think it refers to the zone being residential. This isn't a business zone. And pursuant to your table of uses, the dog kennel is a permitted use in the business zone if you get a special permit from the Board of Appeals. So in addition to the table of uses, section 235, section 56B, your special permit bylaw also comes into play. And that essentially says, do the adverse effects not outweigh the beneficial impacts to the town or the neighborhood? There's a number of criteria for you to consider, and I'll go through some of those. And I want you to keep in mind that we're not looking for a special permit from the get-go here. We already have a special permit. We're just asking you to increase the number of dogs. This business has been in use since 2016. It was vetted back then as far as the layout of the grounds. We've given you a plan showing the outdoor area as well as the indoor area where the dogs will be kept. So as I go through the presentation, what we're asking you to weigh here is, can we increase the number of dogs, not whether we can in fact have a dog kennel in this location, because that was approved previously. One of the criteria, the first one under that section, is community needs will be served by the proposal. One of the things we found, and I know everyone's tired of hearing about COVID, as I am as well, but especially during COVID, and now even after, we found a lot of flights were canceled. People would have their dogs at this facility and call my client and say, I'm not going to be back for a couple of days. And then they had other people coming in and bringing their dogs. So they were exceeding the number of dogs that they were allowed to have. That's still happening. Anyone put the news on at night hears that, still the airlines don't seem to have it together. There's a lot of cancellations. There's just a lot going on around the country, around the world, where travel plans are being adjusted. So there is a need for it. My client, and she'll be happy to testify to this, she turns people away. There are 3 other locations, I think within about 3 miles in the town of Easton, that have a similar service, but it's obviously not enough because she's turning new customers away all the time. There's a need for it. Traffic flow and safety, I would refer you to the original 2016 decision, where, quote, they wrote in their findings, the site is on a main road with little pedestrian traffic. As far as traffic flow and safety, the drop-off and pickup times are staggered. So usually you'll get a drop-off in the morning, there's people going to work, going away for a weekend, long weekend, whatever, they'll come in, and you leave the dog anywhere from 8 to 10 a.m. And if it's a day drop off, they'll come back at the end of the day, 4 to 6:30. But it's staggered. You don't have vehicles all pulling in at the same time. Once they're there, they leave their dog and they leave. Conversation might be a couple minutes, right? They're not sitting down having coffee. There's no facilities for customers to hang around and and stay at the site. So it's a quick interaction where the dog is left and the people pull out. Adequate utilities and other public services. There is town water. And there are facilities where, at the first hearing, my client, I have a picture of it, there's a facility for dog waste, and a chemical that they use, that they put into this container that actually breaks it down, and they pick up the dog waste twice a day. The neighborhood character and social structure, again, it's in a business zone. It's been operated since 2016. This expansion won't derogate from the intent of the bylaw. My client has installed a 91-foot fence, picket fence along the property line. If you're facing the property, it would be to the left. And that's in the photographs that you have. And that, what she did when she installed the fence, she left a 10-foot buffer. She didn't go up to the property line. So there's a natural buffer of vegetation, small trees, when you go on the other side of the fence to the next to the property line for the abutter to that side. So she's tried to leave that natural buffer in addition to the stockade fence that runs along that whole side. And impacts on the natural environment. We contend there will be none. If you look at the plan, one of the plans we have from the surveyor, there's about 131 feet from the back of the pool area to the property line, which is quite a distance. I believe the wetlands, if there's any wetlands, are further out into the wooded area. That was not an issue in 2016, and I would contend that adding the number of dogs we want to add, it doesn't change what this board found back in 2016. Fiscal impact to the town services, there will be none. The impact to my client's business, like everything else these days, inflation, additional costs, business costs, real estate tax increase has made it, for the number of dogs that she has been operating with now, makes it difficult, makes the margins small for the operation of the business. So she's looking to be able to have up to 15 dogs. She doesn't expect to have that many dogs, but she understands now, I think there was some confusion before, that the 5 dogs overnight would be part of that 15, it wouldn't be an addition. So right now, she has a special permit that allows 8 and 3. 8 dogs, 3 overnight, but that 3 is part of the 8, so we don't get 8 plus 3. So she would be looking for 5 overnight. She doesn't expect to always, be in that situation where she has that number of dogs there. But again, it would help her not, have to turn away people or tell people when they call from another state that you're gonna make other arrangements, you're gonna get a family member here, you're gonna get somebody to take a dog because I got 3 people dropping off dogs today or tomorrow. So we just give her more flexibility. She's mindful of the abutters. We have, I believe, some of the customers here tonight. I'm not sure if there's an abutter, there may be one abutter here. And I have letters.
She had COVID, one of the abutters had COVID, she couldn't.
One had COVID. You have some letters from the abutters that were submitted. So one of them was from Sandy Mariani, at 209 Bay Road, to whom it may concern. I've been next door neighbors with Robert and Nancy Gildersleeve for 23 years. I've never had any problems with them at all, including the time since they opened the puppy shack. When I do hear dogs barking, it isn't very loud. And when they do bark, Nancy and Rob quiet them down very quickly. I have no problems with them or their business. Another letter from Lauren Tull, at 12 January Drive. My family and I have been neighbors of the Puppy Shack since February 2019. In August 2019, we needed to find boarding services for the first time for our puppy. I was intrigued to discover the Puppy Shack was right around the corner for me, and I never realized it. We had a wonderful first meeting with them and have been boarding our puppy there ever since. She enjoyed it so much, I've been sending her there once a week since that time. The Gildersleeves are extremely attentive to all dogs and have created a welcome and warming atmosphere for them. The facilities are spotless and well maintained. Daily videos are provided and the dogs have a healthy balance of rest and playtime, all while under constant supervision. The business is an asset to the community and we hope to continue to bring our dog here for many years to come. And there's a few other letters as well from some of the customers. I believe there's also a few of the customers here that may want to speak as well. So with that, that's my presentation. And welcome any questions, comments that you might have. And my client is also available to answer any questions.
Yes, go ahead.
Looking at your photo, the stockade fence, when was that put in?
I believe that was put in, I wanna say 2021.
And prior to that was the chain link fence?
Well, we still have the chain link fence all around the property, but we put up the bigger fence so the neighbor next to us didn't have to get the dogs back every time they went out in the yard.
Alright, so, you haven't had any issues with dogs getting free or anything like that? No.
One, actually, we did twice. Once about a year and a half ago, a dog came, it was only there 10 minutes, and crawled the fence. We were able to get the dog and we called the owners and they came back and got the dog. Likes to escape. It's very connected to their family, very attached, and just didn't want to be there.
Okay, now I'm gonna have a question.
Thank you. One of the things that was referenced in the materials we were looking at, in some of the comments, I think from the building department or Board of Health, there were noise complaints. You began operating in 2016, is that correct?
Mhm.
How many noise complaints are you aware of in the
Just-
7 years that you've been operating?
Just one person, about probably half a dozen times.
And where is that person located?
On the other side of the fence that I put up.
So if you're facing the property to the left, on the other side of the stockade fence where she left the 10-foot buffer.
Okay, so from in front of your house, 209 is located where? To the left or to the right?
209 is to the right, and 217, I believe, is to the left.
Yeah, so if you're facing the house, 217
Is to the left. And that's what's,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And you said roughly or approximately 6 complaints?
I'm guessing over the 7 years, he's probably complained about 6 times, about once a year.
And once a complaint was made, what went into trying to rectify the
Well, when he
situation?
complained that he couldn't go out in his backyard because the dogs are back every time they saw him, that's why I put up the fence. And since then, he's complained that whenever the dogs get dropped off and picked up, all the dogs are gathering at the gate and barking. So we no longer have them out there, at least we try not to. Customers call us when they're coming so we can bring the dogs in so that they're not all back. And 4:30, I bring them all in, so when they're getting picked up, everybody comes to the front door, I give them their dog and they get in their car very quietly.
And why did you put up the picket fence? Was it just to reduce
Well,
the,
because the dogs are bothering him, and I asked him if he wanted me to put up a fence, and he said yes, and I put up a fence. It cost me $3,000.
right, but the fence was put up in part in response to those complaints?
Yes.
And since the fence has been up, how many complaints have there been?
1 or 2, I think. I mean, he doesn't complain all the time, but every once in a while.
And there was also reference to overcapacity issues. Has
Well,
there been any complaints?
That was the overlap that I discussed earlier, that
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and sometimes I let dogs overnight, but dogs will be coming in the morning, and the dogs that sleep over, they have till noontime to pick up. So sometimes I have a few extra dogs until noontime, until those dogs get picked up.
and then other times you've got people
And
that just can't, they're
Traveling.
traveling or whatever, running late, and so they don't pick up their dogs for another day. And she's taken in 2 or 3 new dogs, and now she's exceeded that level.
Have you investigated any way to, since noise complaints seem to be an issue, have you investigated any way installing something that might dampen the noise that's caused by the barking dogs?
I mean, I bring them in, honestly, they don't really bark that much unless there's someone in the driveway. If they're just playing out in the backyard, you really don't know how to hear them at all. It's as soon as a Amazon truck pulls up, or someone comes to pick up or drop off a dog, they all just run and just start barking. But throughout the day, they're pretty quiet, I think, just playing. And if they do get loud and they don't stop barking, we bring them in the back door, let them cool down, and let them back out.
When somebody can, or when the dogs start barking the way you described, somebody pulling in and out of the driveway, is just something that prevents the dogs from seeing that somebody's pulled into the driveway?
No, not in the house they do. We bring them in around 4 o'clock because all pickups are between 4 and 6.
Right.
So we bring them in so there's less barking at the gate. So the dogs aren't running there every time. But I don't know when an Amazon driver's going to come. I don't know when a bicycle's going to go by. So every once in a while, which is like a couple times a day, you might hear them barking.
So are you suggesting that maybe some sort of mitigation system along where the driveway is that would also block the site so that if
Well,
the vehicle pulls in, the dogs
Yeah, I
won't
mean,
see?
it sounds like if that's an issue,
Well, they can hear them anyway because even when the neighbors get in their car, sometimes the dogs can hear them over the fence, so they'll bark away. So it's not all about just seeing people. Dogs have wicked good ears, so they can just hear it right away.
I mean, dogs can start barking for
Right.
any number of reasons. There might be a squirrel running.
Right,
across
right,
the top
and
of
a
the
lot of times we
house.
get deer in the backyard or turkeys, so they'll bark at those too. But I try to bring, when they do start barking and they don't stop, I bring them inside.
Do you try to limit the number of dogs that are outside at any given time?
Yeah, sometimes, like if I end up with over, because people aren't picking up when they're supposed to, I don't let them all out at once, I'll let 6 out and keep 3 in and just rotate them and not have them all out at once.
If you have 8 dogs there, which I guess is the limit currently, are there occasions when all 8 of the dogs are in the backyard at the same time?
Sometimes, yeah.
I don't have any other questions at this time.
Do you live there?
Yes.
Do you have pets of your own?
We had a dog, he died last year. We haven't gotten him yet.
So during the time that you had your dog, would your dog, in your view, count as one of the 8 or one of the 15 or one of the 3 or one of the 5?
Well, I didn't count him as one because he was usually upstairs with us, he wasn't in the kennel.
And you said that somebody had COVID and couldn't hear.
One of the ladies who wrote a letter, she is behind my house, and she was gonna come tonight, but she has COVID, so she couldn't.
Was that one of the people who was coming in supportive of
Yes.
you?
Yes.
Okay, what about the person who is complaining? Is that
Right there, they're
Okay.
here to speak.
We'll get to the vote.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that person didn't have COVID. And the building department said that there's been, it said neighbors like it sounds like it was plural complaints, do you disagree with that?
Yes, it's just one.
And the complaints, it sounded like overcapacity, which was something that we've said has happened from time to time.
It's not all the time, but it does happen.
Do you have some kind of policy in place where like you charge more if somebody doesn't come and pick their dog up on time?
$10 late fee pickup. I mean, if they have to stay an extra night or two, they have to pay for a full night overnight, but if they're gonna be late picking up during the day, it's a $10 charge.
Okay. So you'll have dogs that somebody hasn't picked them up and somebody else will come and drop them off, you'll take the person who you'll take an additional dog to go over.
Well, if they've already booked a vacation and they're counting on me to take their dog, I really can't turn them away. That's why I end up in a pickle.
And the fence, is it like a privacy fence?
Stockade,
Stockade
with a
fence.
stockade, you can't
It's
see.
like a vinyl type thing?
That's what,
I have a picture, it's in the packet, but I'm happy to pass around a picture.
So
Don't be distracted.
It says puppy shack.
So it's a wooden type fence that
Yes.
runs along so this is looking back like kind of into the woods, is that like,
It's in between the two houses.
oh, is the house,
To the left. So
So I'm
on the
look-
other side of that is the house. This picture here,
okay, where is the house where the person is complaining?
On the other side of that fence.
Behind that fence.
That's what that's to separate.
Got it. And the picket, or the metal fence was there previously.
Well, we put that up when we started the business, when we got approved in 2006.
Do you have any plans to get another dog for yourself?
I'm not right away.
And then what was there's, do you know anything, or have anything to say about there's something about the size, there was a complaint about the size of the dog that said?
Well, when
I don't see anything about the size of the dog that's.
When I asked to open the business in 2016, I said I wanted a business with just small dogs only, because I don't want, Rottweilers and Pit Bulls and German Shepherds, because, I'm too small to handle those dogs. So they asked me, well, how big do you want them to be? And I wasn't sure, so I said 25 pounds.
Is that in the permit, was it that they had to be under 25 pounds?
Yes, they did put it in the permit.
yes.
Okay, and then, so the allegation is that there's been dogs with over 25 pounds?
Sometimes dogs will come as puppies at 12 or 14 weeks, and I tell them when they get older, because some breeds I know they're gonna get too big. So I tell them when they get to be sized, they have to find another facility. So sometimes it might take them a week or so, and then
I have a few other photographs of the fence, if they're not in with that back, I'm happy to circulate these.
You wanna see some photographs?
No, I just wanted to see what was on.
They're right here, if you know. The back of your camera.
All right, thanks, I don't have anything else.
Mr. Watson?
You state that the current limit of 8 and 3 is exceeded sometimes through no cause. You can't obviously throw the dog out
Right.
the street if they don't get picked up. But when you go to 15 and 8, won't that occur twice as much?
well, I'm gonna try to keep it at the, like 11, 12 numbers, so if I do go over, it'll still stay below the 50.
But you're kind of saying that it's out of your control. That if someone doesn't pick up their dog, you
Well,
can't
sometimes it
get
is,
rid
I
of
think
it.
that happens probably at most dog facilities.
So theoretically speaking, if you're over capacity, a few dogs above what the special permit allows from 2016, I mean, you're basically could double that over capacity with 15 dogs.
I would never, I couldn't take that many dogs.
I would submit that if it's the board's pleasure, that you allow up to 15, 11 to 15, and that if she gets more dogs herself, that those dogs are included in that number. So if she has 2 dogs herself, now she can only put 13, up to 13 in there. But 11, right now she's limited to the 8. So if you say, up to 11 to 15 dogs, and you can condition it however you want, so that if she goes 1 dog over 15 more than a couple times, you can bring her back in here, and also include a condition that her own dogs are included in that number.
In your view, can I ask, I want to take that.
Go right ahead, Jeremy.
Following up on
Okay.
the question, I hope I'm not interrupting. In your view, do you think that her own dog would have been included in the 8 and the 3 as it exists?
Not if it's kept separately. I actually read this, it's a Mass General Law statute, and not a local bylaw. But if it was kept with the other dogs, absolutely it would count. But it's kept separately upstairs, and you have the floor plan showing the interior area, which is downstairs, it would not be included. But I would recommend respectfully that you include her dogs no matter where they are.
All right,
You have
I'm
the
sorry,
authority to do that.
No, that's all right, and I'm not drawing any conclusions, I'm just trying to understand the facts, that at certain points we're exceeding what the special permit already provides, and by increasing that, naturally followed that we'd exceed more. In some instances, it's certainly possible.
When I came in the
You
first time.
can't not tell someone you can't drop off your dog just because another dog's here, you can't let that one go. And this person's going on vacation, so you can't say, well, I can't take that dog. Okay, the other thing I wanted to ask was, and I know you had mentioned that the waste was picked up twice a day, I would assume that's picked up by staff, then put in a bin and then picked up, you have some
So we
kind
do poopy
of
patrol. on the lawn.
professional waste
No,
removal?
we pick up the poop twice a day from the lawn, we put it in a dually septic system on the side yard, and you dig about 3 feet down, and there's a pipe, and you put the dog poop in there, chemicals and water, and the chemicals are
This is what it looks like.
And that's, I would assume, not knowing anything about dog poop waste removal, this is considered the standard, this is perfectly adequate
and I think
for
as you get
Board
a
of
bigger
Health
kennel,
and
they're
everybody
bigger,
else.
as far as I know.
That's what we get
This is
presented.
what they approved initially in 2016.
Yes.
Thank you.
You can, that's an extra copy for
Oh.
the record if you like.
Thanks, thanks. I'm learning something today, what to do with dogs. Neighborhood character and social structure. I have no more questions, thank you.
Already exhausted my questions. I will note though, on the special permit that was granted in 2016, there is no condition that 25 pounds or whatever.
Oh, wasn't it,
Wasn't
I
written
thought it
there.
was.
There was a finding that you had mentioned it, but it's not a condition,
Oh, okay.
not a limitation of size. All right, so anybody else on the board have any questions?
No.
I will turn it over to the public. Do you have any public questions, comments? Ma'am, come on up, announce your name, announce your location, and address everything to me as the chair, please.
My name is Donna Ryan. I'm the resident that lives next door to Gildersleeve.
What is the address? 217?
217 Bay Road,
Thank you.
okay? I have photos that I got off of their website, that show during the evening, there are more than 3 dogs. And she forgot to tell you that it's free range is what she calls her business.
It is free range.
The dogs are allowed to just roam. They roam in the house and they roam outside. Also, we're here asking to rescind the permit. Because that they have on almost a daily basis blatantly abused the permit that has been issued by the board. There's always more than 8 dogs a day. And at nighttime you can see there's more than 3 dogs a day. She also advertised herself 30-pound dogs. These are pictures from her website. More than 8 dogs. And we never thought that they were gonna have a 24/7 business, 365 days a year. We
Excuse
looked
me,
at this
excuse me
location,
for interrupting. Do you have copies for us to look at?
Yeah, we'll pass them around.
it's on her website. 24-hour business. They keep saying it's business zone, it is residential and business. They're the only business beside the White House that just went out of business, on Bay Road. We could not, it took us 5 years to get them to put up a fence. Other than that, they had a 4-foot fence all around their perimeter. Every time you went out the door, the dogs would bark. The dogs still bark. Do you know what it sounds like to have a dozen dogs barking? They don't put out 1 or 2 dogs at a time. They put out a pack of dogs. We are unable to have a dog in our house because of their business, which is not right. This picture
Oh, sorry.
of the fence, that fence with the sign that they put on, that was for our benefit. That was like, yeah, we're the puppy shed. We're a residential area. Easton is a beautiful town. We don't need stuff like that put running down Bay Road with huge signs, puppy shed. That's because somebody complained about the sign that they had out in front of the street. Not only that, we couldn't have our grandchildren over. We couldn't open our windows because of the noise from the dogs. The two people are the ones that run that business. There is no other help. Not only that, my husband, who has Parkinson's, can't even take a nap during the afternoon with the dogs barking. I mean, 45 years, we're on retirement. So we have a beautiful backyard that we can't use. We can't have our family over, our friends, when they come over, they say, "What is that noise?" It's their dogs. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, but, you know, we've had businesses, we've lived there for 45 years. We've had businesses since we've lived there. But nothing like this. Yeah, you really have to be there. I mean, all these people came, they all have dogs. But they come and they drop the dog off and they pick the dog up. They don't see what happens those 8 hours or 24 hours with their dogs. They're not out in that yard. But we can't go out in our yard because of their business. And I don't think, as a resident of Easton, that's fair. All right. I mean, would you want 12 dogs barking at you? Now they want 15 dogs. Where does it end? I mean, where does it end? I mean, we have grandchildren, we like to come over. Yeah. They can't come over with these ones. Barking all day long. And a 4-foot fence. Who puts up a 4-foot fence to keep dogs? 5 years to get a stockade fence. 5 years to complain.
Oh, please, no, direct it to me.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't complain, we went over. If I had something to say to them, we went over. We told them the dogs are barking. Their response, dogs bark. I know that, I had dogs. We always had dogs. That's their answer, dogs bark. Well, 15 dogs barking, it's not right. It's not right for anybody in any part of this town to have to put up with that. And what other businesses in this town are 24/7, besides the police and the fire? I mean, it's not right, it's not fair. And we're before you, asking you to make it right. I have nothing else to say.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, do I respond, Mr. Chairman?
Ma'am? Please announce yourself, your
Hi, my name
address.
is Deneen Gale Stevens. I live off of Bay Road on 16 Victory Lane. And the only thing that I noticed, that I'm just being objective, my dog does go there. I understand where both parties are coming from. They do live on a busy road. However, the pictures that she gave to you guys, it's the time of when it's posted, not when the time it actually happened. So a lot of the videos that she takes, because she's caring for the dogs during the day, she posts at night. So those nighttime numbers on those posts that are time-stamped are usually happening during the daytime, when she should have that number.
Good night.
No,
So that's the Facebook stamp, the timestamp that you typically see. Because like if we have our dog that comes during the day, if I know that she's posted something during the day, I see it at night when she's posted it. So that's where I was just verifying that those really aren't the times that she's taken the picture, it's the time that she posted the picture. just so you guys know that for numbers, that's typically a daytime number.
Name, address?
Hi everyone, I'm Dina Melnick. I live at 5 Sandy Pond Lane. We've been Easton residents for 20 years. I met Nancy probably about 5 years ago. I have now a 14-year-old little dog, and at the time he was about 7. And I was very grateful to find the business, working full-time, and having a dog. And of course, kids in school all day long didn't seem fair to leave the dog in a crate all day at home. So I was really grateful just around the corner to see that there was a business that would only take small dogs. That's how Nancy explained it to me at the time, regardless of perhaps what was approved or not approved in the permit. She only does take small dogs. And I've been very vocal. If I saw a dog that maybe looked a little too big, she explained to me that dog was a puppy, it's been here for a long time, and that dog will no longer be here because it's getting too big. But I will say she does offer a huge benefit to those of us in the community that really need her services, not just to take vacations, which yes, I use Nancy to take vacations, which sometimes are only once or twice a year, but I do need her for being able to go to work because I can't leave the dog at home. A couple of years ago, we did have a second dog come into our home. My daughter was going through some very serious emotional issues and needed an emotional support animal. And so we now have a 2-year-old little dog as well. And I've been, again, very grateful to have Nancy and Rob to offer their services to me and my family. But I will say Nancy's actually very strict with respect to when are you dropping off, when are you picking up. I'll get a text message. If I say I'm going to be there at 7:30 and I'm not there yet, I get a text message at 7:35. What time are you coming? And I know she's doing that so that when I arrive with my 1 or 2 dogs, the other dogs she tries very hard to bring them in. Same thing when I'm leaving for work. And I'll say it just like I did when I had kids in daycare. I say to my boss, I gotta go get the dogs. I told her I'd be there at 6. And so I try to get there right on time and respect the fact that she does have other dogs that she needs to bring in, especially if she has boarding dogs, so that the dogs aren't barking. So I, do understand and feel for you, and I have neighbors in my neighborhood who also have dogs, who have kids who cry, sometimes when I'm in the yard, and I'll hear noises from my neighbors. I'm not saying it's the same thing by any means, so I mean no disrespect, but I will say with respect to having grandchildren come and visit. I know Nancy and Rob, they have their grandchildren come over and visit, and they, I'm sure, have enjoyable visits even though there are other dogs. So just with respect to how Nancy runs her business, and I'm sure her other customers can attest to this as well, she is strict. She does want to know when you're coming. She does want to know when you're picking up because she is trying very hard to bring all the other dogs inside for your arrival, so it really does try to limit the noise. Am I there the 8 hours or 9 hours that I'm at work? No, I'm not. But I do know that when she has tried, that she tries really, really hard to limit the noise. And they are dogs, and I'm sure it's hard. As far as other businesses that run in Easton 24/7, there are other dog kennels that probably run the same hours. And Nancy does turn us away. I mean, I know I'm one of her best customers, but when sometimes I'll ask last minute, hey, can I bring the dogs this weekend? And she'll say, no, I'm sorry, I'm full. And so, then I have to figure something else out. So she doesn't just make exceptions because I'm a good customer, I come all the time. She'll say no to me very, very often because sometimes I'm just a last minute person. But I will say Nancy and Rob run a great business. They've tried really hard to limit the noise, and I know it's not perfect, but they do offer really important service in the community for those of us that have dogs and need them to go to work. So appreciate your listening and thank you for the time.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Deb Walker, Tammy's Path Northeast, and I grew up in town, moved back about 20 years ago, lived out of the town briefly. I've had several dogs, had to keep them at home while I worked, had various places where I used to take those dogs. They were kennels. They weren't a home. They weren't treated as a pet, a family pet. That's the environment that my dog is in now. The dog I got in early 17 was a rescue from a kill shelter in Tennessee. He was to be euthanized. He was maybe 2 or 3 years old, we really don't know. I can only tell you that when I got him, he was not socialized, he did not know how to bark, he did not know what a treat was, and he was not potty trained. And I knew I was never taking another dog to a place where he's in a cage all day long. I couldn't do that, especially to a dog like mine at that time, who needed to be with people and other dogs. He needed those skills. So I found out about this place through a groomer in town. And we met, I brought him up there, and the first day that Nancy and Rob met him, I don't think my dog said anything. I don't think he could do anything. And within maybe about a year or so of him being there, he kind of learned how to bark. He still doesn't know how to take a treat, but they helped me puppy train him. And he was 2 to 3 years old at the time. They show him the love he never had when I'm not there to give it to him. My parents do have him a few days a week. But Nancy also, which was mentioned, she's extremely protective, because I remember commenting a couple of times about my dog, and there seemed to be this mean, like a bully in the neighborhood dog that was bothering my dog, and I happened to see it, and she said, that's not gonna happen anymore, this is his last day. And I've witnessed that on 2 separate occasions. She's very protective. And to reiterate, every morning I get a text, or I send Nancy a text that I'm headed up the street. I don't live that far. When I'm on my way from work, I let her know, or she texts me, when are you coming? Because she doesn't want that confusion at the fence all at once, in the evening or in the morning. And again, like she said, I live on Pammy's Path, there's a ton of dogs. There's little kids, there's all kinds of noise, and again, it's no disrespect, but I think that they try to go above and beyond to accommodate the neighbors and be very strict with the dogs, and they're not gonna take a lot from customers who abuse rules. And to me, I don't think I could have my dog in another location. It's a home environment that he's in. He's downstairs in a large area, like several rooms, like a family room. It's a real home that he's in, and to me, it's been a blessing.
It's also unbelievably clean. There is no dog play. I have never seen poop in the yard. When the dog comes home, the dog is clean. Even on a rainy day, the dog is clean. That's unheard of.
Hi, my name is Valerie Mulcha. I'm at 5 Hobart Way, and I won't waste too much time by kind of going over everything that ladies have already said, but I just want to let you all know that I do feel the same, and everything that they've mentioned thus far is, accurate to my understanding as well. And I mean, it's been a blessing having them in town. We now have a second dog that we sometimes bring there, but to everybody else's points, I've been turned down several times. I don't know if you guys are aware, but Petstream 2 is another facility that was on Depot Street. They recently had to close their doors. They were one of our backup options, so to speak. No longer have that as an option. For my husband and I, our dogs are kids. We don't have children, so by not having Nancy around, we don't have a school, quote unquote, that our dogs go to, and that's what we call it. When my husband's driving the dogs to school, we say, are you taking them to school? Am I taking them to school? So to us, it's really, really beneficial, and really a necessity to have, because although I work from home, I'm on the road a lot for work as well, and just having them available and willing to take our dog. And to her point, I'm also a very long-term customer, and I've been denied, so I know that they're not giving out special treatment to anybody. One of our dogs has been there for, I believe, 6 years now, and our new puppy just started going 4 months ago. So I know it's not necessarily what everybody wants to hear, that that they're needed and it's a necessary thing, and me, of course, I'm selfishly here proclaiming that I need it, and I know what others do as well. And to their point, I think that they do a really, really good job at trying to do everything they can, and I also do the same texting with Nancy to let her know I'm on my way, either to drop off or pick up, and she doesn't have dogs out there when I come to pick up, and that's it.
Thank you. I think that is that. Make a motion to close the public hearing. Oh wait, we got additional. I
Yeah.
apologize, okay.
I would say that
Please announce your name and your address, please.
Mary Donovan, 16 Daniel Drive. I would say that our customers are very happy with your service. It doesn't belong in a residential area. I hear you say that it's zoned for business, and I think that's something historic. Because most of the area is residential, and close residential. These aren't houses that are far apart. There's a big difference between hearing your neighbor's dog bark when you get home from listening to a business that caters to dogs all day long. We can't open our windows. I live in the condo complex behind the Bay Road. We can't open our windows. The idea of sitting on your deck is just out of the question. Because I don't know what the routine is, but I suppose if I took the time, I could figure out how often they come out during the day. And it's just paying money. There's no peaceful enjoyment of the property, which we have a right to. I agree with this lady, I don't know how she sees it. I have a question. Apparently there was a permit given 6 years ago. I've lived there for 23 years, I was never notified that this was going to happen. And I've asked other neighbors, and they weren't notified either. So I don't know how this came about without our notification. Because I'm in a buyer and I was notified about this one, this extension that you're asking for. About complaints, I complained once. I mean, if it's a question of the number of complaints, if you're gonna make a judgment on the number of complaints that are made, you don't have a fair measure. I complained once, I called the dog officers. I forget if I might have called the Board of Health one, no, maybe the police. They put me to the dog officer. I talked to a lady there, this was shortly after they opened. I talked to a lady there, and she asked me if I thought the dogs were being mistreated, and I didn't. I said, no. I don't like to interfere with somebody's livelihood, but this was getting ridiculous. And the bottom line was, there was nothing they could do because it was zoned for business. So, like, I guess she's responded to her neighbor, dog's bark. That's the answer. I mean, that is really not a good thing to hear. They're outside, as they said, several times a day. When you have one dog, two dogs, and they bark, you shush them, and they shush. This is not that. When they go out to play or whatever their break is, they just bark, and the dogs bark, and then they call back inside again and need some peace and quiet for a while. This just doesn't belong in a residential area. Maybe there is a need, I don't even know. We're not supposed to have dogs. Maybe there's a need, but just not in this area. This never should have been granted in the first place. The current number of dogs that are allowed there is having a significant negative effect on the neighbors. The idea of increasing it is just, I can't even begin to thinking about this. Maybe you could tell us what we're supposed to do to complain and make it heard so that you're aware of the issue, because I don't know what we're supposed to do.
I mean, the question there would be a question for the zoning enforcement officer, which is the building inspector.
So when I hear the dogs barking, I should call the building inspector?
The building inspector is the zoning enforcement officer.
Okay.
It's the best I can tell you.
All right, so but it's apparently zoned properly. It's a noise problem.
So the property is owned business, so, you know, the owner of the property has a right. That's why the owner originally came before the board for a special permit, because by right, in a business zone, they do have a right to obtain a special permit for a kennel. There were restrictions on it as to the number of dogs. There was no restriction as to the weight. It was a matter of finding, but there was no restriction to the permit limiting dogs to a certain weight and under. No, it's not the permit. It is listed as a finding. It is not a restriction. So, so they have a right to have it, and that's why they came before the board to obtain a special permit to be able to operate the business. So as to whether or not you were notified, typically that's handled through the applicant addresses typically the clerk. Clerk provides a list of abutters, and this typically sent certified mail, Suzanne? No.
This wasn't certified mail. So who sends it out? Who sends the notice out?
The applicant?
Oh.
Right, we provide the list of.
No, the applicant gets the list.
That's what I mean, they get the list.
Applicant gets the list and the town sends it out.
Okay,
Within a 300-foot radius.
But we get it through the town website.
Right,
We put
correct.
it
I have no control over.
Correct.
Correct.
but who
Sure.
actually sends the notices out to the abutters?
The zoning.
Right.
And it's not certified.
No, I know it's not certified, this one isn't. Because we weren't notified. I wasn't notified,
Well,
so maybe wasn't notified.
at this point, it's 2023, and that was 2015, 2016,
it's
how much I can do about that.
It's a dead issue, I hear that now, but when you talk about the rights of the business owner, we have rights too. We just weren't
That's
able
why
to
we're all here.
exercise them. The only other thing I would say is that at the time I made this complaint, before I made the complaint, I went on the website to see what's the deal here, what happened. And there was a statement by the person who owned the business saying that this was her dream to retire into a nice whatever and open this kennel. And I thought, I'm in my dream retiring too. And I expect to be able to peacefully enjoy my property and not have dogs barking all the time. I mean, I have to say, I never hear them overnight. I mean, I know it's 7:24, but I never hear them overnight. But during the day, it's just really, it's not right. I mean, I think we need to take that into consideration.
Mr. Chairman, may I suggest a compromise in this one briefly?
Well, we've finished getting comments from the public, and then, anybody else, comments, ma'am?
Nancy Kamali, 28 Daniel Drive.
Could you repeat that, please?
Nancy Kamali. I moved into Easton 2 years ago, and I have the same problem. If I don't use the AC, I like to open the windows, and if it's Saturday, Sunday, I'm not working. In the morning, I guess it's the drop-off time, and in the afternoon pickup time, I hear the dogs barking all the time. Not at night, not during the day too much, but drop-off and pickup time is just, we cannot open the windows. And I complained to the town of Easton through online, and I never received any response. I'm sure Miss Nancy is a very responsible business owner, but we hear them if we are home and the windows are open. Thank you.
Sir?
Al Petty, 24 Daniel Drive. I love dogs, and I'm really pro-business, but I really think that the noise is a real problem with us. We're abutters across the wetlands, and it's right into our backyard, and whether it's 8 or 10 or 12 dogs now, the noise is really, really loud. And to go to 15 seems like it would just be unbearable.
Okay. So, do you want to make one more comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I would like to suggest a compromise as far as the number of dogs, because I know there's a concern that go over 15, that you amend the special permit law up to 13 dogs with 2 additional dogs, so just if there's overlap. So they're limited to 13 dogs with the 5 overnight, but with a floater of 2, if you will, so that they, if there's if there's overlap, people canceling or, being late and getting back, or other delays, and then they can go with that 13, but they'll be limited to 13. the other condition that if they decide to get a dog of their own, that will be included in the 13. As the chair correctly pointed out, this isn't in a business zone, and I just, again, want to draw your attention to the bylaw 235, section 56. It says, any adverse effects will not outweigh the beneficial impacts. And I think what that means is that in any one of these special permit situations, right, it's a balancing test. You're never gonna have a situation where there's no adverse impacts. What we suggest to you is though, to the extent they exist, they don't outweigh the beneficial impacts. My clients regret that they don't get along with the Ryans. They really do. I walk every site before I take on a matter like this. And I walked this site twice. And one of the first things my client said to me is that she regrets that, you know, it's not the neighbor next door on the other side of the stockade fence, the Ryans, that they don't get along. She wished they did. They did have a discussion about the fence, and she believes she worked as quickly as she could during the COVID period to get someone to install it. So there is a need. We've heard that tonight. We wouldn't be here if there wasn't a need for it in the town. And you know, that reason and all the other reasons that we put in front of you, plus the fact that the pictures that Mrs. Ryan gave you show that this is all small dogs. I mean, you see it on these photographs, small dogs. That's what my client focuses on, is the small dogs. So she's hoping for your consideration and favorable approval of granting the special permit, allow up to 13, 5 overnight, but a floater of 2 only in extenuating circumstances. So it's like picking up the dog. Thank you. He's the
Thank you. Thank you.
Alright. Any other comments from someone we haven't heard from already? Okay, we have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
I'll second.
Very good. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, by hand? It's 5-0. Okay, great. So, who wants to start?
Well, I mean, I don't think you can, I mean, it's a lot, I mean, you have a kennel that's gonna be done. It's impossible. Now, the original permit stated they only needed the 4-foot fence, which is what you see in the pictures. Later on, not soon enough to their satisfaction, they did go out and get a stockade fence trying to mitigate these issues. They freely admit that there are times that they're not in compliance. Somebody calls them, you know, the flight's canceled, and all of a sudden they got 11 dogs there instead of 8. So, I'm in favor of a compromise solution, slight uptick to 11, 5 overnight. That would be sort of where they're at, with a little bit of wiggle room. I don't think there could be much more than that. I mean, it's clearly affecting a lot of people's lives around it. It is tightly packed there. I mean, not tightly packed, but driven in that part of Bay Road many times. You wouldn't know it's a business district. I mean, she's correct about that. You just drive, it looks like homes. The only thing you see is.
hair salon next door.
Is there a hair salon?
They actually closed.
Oh, did that?
Yeah.
All signs.
I mean, it was a light store. I mean, it does look mostly residential, but I'm not in favor of, you know, pulling their special permit.
But that's not in the purview of
Right,
us
so-
right now.
No, so I think the business is gonna be there. I think a slight uptick. But I mean, after that, I don't think that, and I think, you know, posting hours on your website, I did look on your website.
I haven't used my website in
It's a
5
it
years.
was a Facebook page, I was just quickly looking at it, posting those hours and just doing your best to mitigate,
I do,
you know, and, you know, you get people that are home during the day, maybe you keep the dogs inside more often, you know, have them play indoors more. I know, it's, I mean, you're gonna have, it's gonna be loud.
Every time they bark, I get nervous.
I know,
You know, my
I can
feelings, I
imagine
don't want
that,
anybody
I
to
get
get
it, I mean, it's the nature of the business, they're, you know, they're not gonna, dogs, they're just gonna have a dog, so it does what it wants sometimes. That's where I'm at, I don't know where, Mr. Curran is.
Well, I like the idea of the compromise that you're suggesting. Dogs bark. They bark a lot. And God knows what. You were talking about Amazon trucks, you know, I think I mentioned the example of
Turkeys.
squirrel. turkeys, and yeah, as you know, the chairman pointed out, I mean, revoking this permit is not within our purview. It seems like there's a need for the service, particularly since somebody had pointed out that one of the other kennels in town is closing. I think there has to be some effort though to recognize the complaints that the neighbors have been making about noise. I mean, you know, we can only add so many conditions to a permit without seeming like we're micromanaging the business. I mean, I think, you know, I would encourage you to keep the dogs inside or limit it to 3 or 4 dogs outside at any given time. And that you have to manage business in a way so the neighbors aren't complaining about hearing barking morning, noon, and night. You know, so I understand that there's a need for the service. And I also understand that there are some effects of operating this business that are negatively impacting the neighbors. So like the compromise that Tim proposed seems like it might be a good one. And you know, you would mention, I think at the outset, about, you know, rising costs and well, I mean, there's a number of ways to deal with that. I mean, it could be you raise the rates, you know, as opposed to raising the number of, or raising the number of dogs.
And then we want to try to stay competitive too.
We're not going back and forth right
Oh,
now.
sorry.
No, that's okay. But that, I'm just, you know, that, you know, in the end isn't a factor that I'm really considering. I mean, it's just, I think that perhaps if we try to bring the wisdom of Solomon, so to speak, to this, it might be an appropriate resolution. Thank you. That's all I have.
Jeremy, anything?
So, I'll just say I'm pro-dog and, I'm pro-business, and it sounds like this is a business that's offering a good service to the community and has a loyal client base. But I've heard from 4 separate abutters who are all saying that as it stands, it's a problem. So I'm not inclined to vote for something that's going to make it a bigger problem. And I think any increase is clearly, I mean, they're already having trouble abiding by the current conditions, so I don't feel like I want to increase the burden on the neighbors.
So, I didn't hear that, not in our purview, we have no ability to do anything with the existing special. We're not zone enforcement process. We're being asked to amend a special permit to increase the quantity of dogs that the business itself admits is already exceeding, and not, and I have to say that I think that in, you know, I'm with Jeremy, why add to that problem? I think a good compromise would be to try to get the number of dogs to adhere to the terms of special permit and see if that alleviates some of the neighbors' concerns. But I don't see the increasing at this stage is something I could see.
Someone want to make a proposal?
Well, I mean, I'll make my proposal of up to 11, 5 overnight. I mean, the overnight seems to not be a problem.
Do we have to have a number for days?
Let's just go back and forth.
Oh,
It's not-
sorry.
Yeah, the mechanic's closed now, and that would make that motion to amend the permit with that condition.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend it to 11, but
Up
the other.
to 11.
Up to 11
With the 5 overnight, especially being that the overnight doesn't seem to be really much of a problem.
No, understand we can make as many motions as
Sure.
we want, so this is
Absolutely.
one
That's just my
proposal.
motion.
So on this calls, right, so we have that on the floor, is anybody second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, so now we have first and second. might as well just vote on it. All those in favor of that proposal? And Mr. McCall and Mr. Curran, all those opposed? Alright, so that's a no. Does somebody else have another compromise, or at this point is that,
I think if it's not that, then it's pretty much vote to deny that, right?
yeah, I mean, for me, residents have a right to quiet enjoyment of their property. I think right now, it is a necessary business. No one's taken away their permit at this point, but expanding the business, I don't think is in the best interest. And I think the existing permit as is should stand. An expansion, to me, doesn't make sense. So, as chair, I would, make a motion to deny.
Second.
Second. Alright, so we'll take a vote on that. Actually, we don't have to really take a vote on that. We only vote on the affirmative. So if we don't have an alternate affirmative,
Well, for 3-2 again, it's just gonna be denied anyway.
well, it's gonna be denied anyway. So,
Alright.
but at that point, we don't see anything else. So, unfortunately, at this point, we're not gonna be able to move forward with the request.
Can I appeal this?
Thank you,
If
thank you.
council to be able to go over.
Thank you for your time.
Alright. Okay.
Let's see if it works.
Better than this. No, it's on.
Oh, wait, you know what? I have to press something here. I have to press share.
I'm gonna read it in, Ryan.
Well, let's just see if we can.
Since it's
Oh, wait.
room cleared
I
out.
have to get that
We'll
and
wait
then
for
press
Suzanne.
share.
Yeah, alright.
They told me upstairs. Magic touch.
Alright, Mr. McCall, you wanna read our next hearing? on the record?
Absolutely. Eastern Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, September 12th, 2023 at 6:35 p.m. at the Easton Town Hall, Colleen A. Corona Boardroom, 136 Elm Street, Easton, Massachusetts, on the following petition. Variance, Robert W. Stetson, for property located at 48 Pond Street, Easton, Mass. Assessors map 17U Lot 12 for variance pursuant to Eastern Code Book, Chapter 235 zoning, 235-16 in Appendix B, to allow zoning relief from minimum lot requirements on a non-conforming lot to construct an addition. The agenda will be posted at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting. This notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org. For the following comments. DPW, Police, and Board of Health all say not applicable. Building Department recommends, their comment was no issues from building. Full Housing Trust, not applicable. Historical Commission, they had a comment, they said the status was incomplete. The circa 1880 classic revival William Tobig House at 48 Pond Street with the Northeastern National Historic Register. District is more than 75 years old and is subject to Easton's demolition review bylaw, chapter 114. The applicant should contact the planning department for a demolition review application and to schedule a meeting with the Easton Historical Commission. Environmental planner recommends, comment, meets exemption for porch and work and rear property, is outside of wetland jurisdiction. Planning and zoning, status recommend. On September 5th, 2023, the Planning and Zoning Board discussed the variance application submitted for 48 Pond Street, voted 2-0 in favor to recommend the application and with one recusal. That is it.
Are you ready?
I am. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I'll try to keep this brief. I know you've had a long night. My name is Bob Stetson, and together with my wife Rachel and our two daughters, we live at 48 Pond Street. We're here seeking what we consider very modest relief to rebuild this home to make it safe and habitable for ourselves and for our children. But we wanted to do something that really mirrors the aesthetics of the existing home, but complies with modern building codes and standards. So let me just take you through a couple of pictures. Here's the Google Earth shot. The lot, so the home was constructed in 1880. The original structure is what I'm told, a cross-wing balloon frame home. The front porch, which I showed you in the first picture, was built about 10 or 15 years after the home was constructed. And then this back, is my cursor working? Yes. So this rear addition, which I'll show you from a different angle in a moment, was built, we believe, sometime in the last 50 years. And so we have kind of the three component parts. As you can sort of tell here, and maybe if I go to the, here we go. I can show you kind of the lot shapes. It is a severely undersized lot, even by standards of Pond Street, which I think are somewhat unusual just because of the historical nature of the homes there. Consistent with most of the homes on Pond Street, it's also very close to the road. And that presents a problem for us, and it's one of the primary reasons that we're here, is because of the way that the bylaw is written. Our existing home actually does not comply with the bylaw, even though it's under 25 feet mean height. So the problem that we have is we have a home, we have a neighborhood that we love, we have a home that is very old and has a lot of problems. So if I could go back to that addition, I can zoom in a little bit. I should have done some different photographing, but if you can kind of see, if you can kind of imagine it, the addition has a shared wall with what I would call the original home. There are some structural issues going on there. And this is our main TV room area, and then the kitchen over here. There was a horizontal crack in the shared wall right there, which we think is a major problem. We have some unusual electrical issues. We're told there is a very significant, this is just anecdotal, but there is an electrical outlet on the floor directly below our dishwasher in the kitchen, which we're told is a very egregious violation of the code. Other electrical problems as well. The front porch, this is actually a very nice picture of the front porch. It's kind of hides the way it actually looks. The foundation of it is completely dilapidated. It needs to be completely replaced. The fieldstone foundation is so porous that despite spending thousands of dollars on rodent and pest control, we do not believe there is a permanent solution there without doing poured concrete. And then we have a barn in the back, which was actually one of the reasons why we kind of fell in love with this home to begin with. But it is structurally unsound. There are two staircases in there. One of them is completely broken, and it cannot be used. And if you can see where my cursor is, again, not the greatest picture, but there's a barn door right there that will not even shut because of the pressure that's going down onto it. So given all of these problems and with consultation with professionals, we came up with this concept of, well, let's kind of start from scratch. And we worked with designer Greg Strange, who was on the historical commission for a period of time. Our directive to Greg was, we want it to look like the house we have. That was the directive. We weren't going to add bedrooms, nothing. We wanted it to look, we really just wanted to build a safe home. And what he came back with was this. Let me see if I can do a side by side so I can kind of show you. You can sort of see the side by side here. I have a couple of other images that I'll show you. But that's what he came up with. You've got the new proposed here from the front view, and then of course the existing. You can see it's got the kind of the same look and feel of that period. there's oversized corner boards, roof eaves, and pronounced cornices. I'm just gonna show you a couple of other depictions of it that weren't in the materials. Well, here's the layout. As you can see, there's still gonna be 3 bedrooms. That hasn't changed. There is, we are hoping to have some play space in the basement there with the port foundation. I did want to actually show you the barn, just because I kind of wanted you to see that even though it's not germane necessarily to the issues that you guys are dealing with tonight, that really the goal here is to make the whole property look like it looks now. And so the intention is to do both the home and the barn at the same time, so I wanted you guys to see that. Here's some 3D images. Of course, the colors were selected by Greg just so you could see them well. Those aren't the colors that we would choose, or certainly that Rachel would allow us to choose. I'll come back to the lot plan in a minute. This is one of the drawings that I included in your materials. It kind of shows the shading, which shows the addition from the existing home to the proposed, but I have some better images that I wanted to show you that really show that. So I just got these in the last couple of days. This is a kind of a side view to show you what it will look like. The image on the right that you see there is the existing. The image on the left is the proposed. So you can kind of see, I really wanted to point out the roof line because that becomes sort of important in request for variances. But I think this really shows what we're talking about here. This is the view from the street. On the left, of course, is the proposed, and on the right is what we have here. So we're really kind of hoping that the goal has been achieved here in trying to show period details. The only problem, of course, with what we consider a very beautiful design is that we needed to add 2 feet of mean height over what we have now, as you can see. And also 4 feet on the back to accommodate sort of the sloping of to keep the period details that we were really trying to achieve. And so that brings me to my final 3 points. The first is that we do believe there are special circumstances here. And going back to the lot plan, which was included in your materials, you can see where the septic system is. We have no more room. If I could have pushed this home back further to give me some breathing room on the height, I absolutely would have done it. As you can see, we actually are going to have to move the barn back to accommodate the septic system and how close it has to be from, or how far away it has to be from the foundation of the home. So we are, and we're like, I think we pushed the barn back as far as we possibly could. We're still really stretched there. So that's really the main issue in terms of really the limitations of the lot. And keep in mind, we are still under the 25 feet. The second issue is the substantial hardship issue, and according to our designer, as I alluded to before, in order to maintain the look that we were trying to achieve here, because he tells me he may have been able to design something that would have fit within the height, but it would not have come close to looking the way that it looks now with the period details and kind of the aesthetic. To comply with modern building code requirements for stair and egress sizing, minimum ceiling heights, and egress door and window sizing, he believed that we had to add a little bit of height on the roof and then extend it back in order to maintain that sloping. And then the third point, which I think is the most important point, is we believe that the requested relief in this new proposed home is consistent with the neighborhood. And in that regard, we've spoken to our neighbors. We really only have 2 neighbors, Fred Ames on one side and Pam and Joe Barrett on the other. They've been with us the whole way. They've seen the way that Greg has done plans. They fully support this project. I have letters of support from each of them, which I didn't upload. I didn't do it until this weekend, so you probably haven't seen them. but I do have letters from both Fred and Joan. They support this project, and we hope you will too. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
All right. Ed, let's go first.
It's a nice little house. You got a really small lot. So when you were designing the house, and I know the only thing that appears to, be a little bit outside of the norm, although, here you're supposed to have, proposed 20.7 to 18 is the 25-foot height, and you brought that up. And the only question I have, did you ever think about just lowering the pitch of the roof, or your designer's telling you to keep it down? That it would really severely impact the design of the house?
That's what you told us.
And then I would assume, you mentioned that people are telling you about the pest and the electrical and the structural, the people that are telling you this, I don't know what you do, like, are you in the trades, or are you having professionals do this?
I'm a lawyer.
Okay.
I am relying entirely on.
So people are telling you
smarter
this.
than me.
Well, I didn't know if it was like your neighbor coming by, like, my neighbor's gonna say, that looks really bad. And then, I'm not sure if it's a question for you or for the chair regarding the investigation of the demolition permit. Maybe that's more into deliberations.
Yeah, that's.
That's really not a question for
Okay.
you. But
I do have the review tomorrow night. I did want to point that out.
Okay.
That I am on the agenda for.
That actually answers the question. So that's with the historical commission?
Yes.
The only other thing, I know we've asked this before, is the mean height versus the actual height. And I know it's been explained several times. Am I running through that again? Because apparently the house is less than 25, but because of the slope to the street, you have to take in accommodation the topography of the street to be actual height.
So actually, the big problem for us is that we are inside the 25-foot front. I'm calling it setback. That's not.
Right.
That's not what I mean.
But that's where the existing home is.
That's where. Yes, but so because the way I understand the bylaw, because we are inside the 25-foot, that my actually available height goes down.
Right.
So my existing home actually violates the height bylaw as drafted. Interestingly, I know that Greg, our designer, was involved in the creation of this bylaw, and he had kind of indicated to me that the planning board knew at the time that this district was a problem, and they just never got around to getting to it.
Can you pull up the Google Street View again, the one year where you're looking at it?
Sure.
Are the two houses on the side, is your height gonna be dwarfing your two neighbors? Or is it gonna be fairly consistent?
It's gonna be pretty consistent.
It appears to be, that one over there is a little bit higher than your existing, and that's gonna
Yeah, I mean, part of that's angle, part of that's only you see in a section of that house.
I know what you mean. We're looking for this one.
So.
And this
So
one.
you're gonna go up a couple feet more or less in the back, and the peak in the front is more or less the same height.
Correct, yeah.
So the heights of all the houses on the street are gonna be more or less consistent. I have no more questions, thank you.
I don't have any questions.
Just with respect to the barn, are you using that for anything right now?
I won't let anyone except myself inside of it. I keep a snowblower in there and some tools and things, but.
Would you envision using it for if this gets approved?
Yeah, no, absolutely. When we bought the house, the plan was always to convert kind of the third floor to an artist studio for my wife, and that's what we're gonna try to do. We're gonna try to have the middle level be sort of a play room as the girls get older, or, you know, if we have an out-of-town guest or something, they can stay out there if they want their personal space. The first area will still be my storage, kind of storage stuff.
And you would also, in your letter to the board, mention issues with structural integrity, and then during the oral part of your presentation, you mentioned the horizontal crack.
Yeah.
Is that a bearing wall?
Yes, it is. And so the way, and this is part of the problem, I don't know when the addition was done, but there are there are 3 beams that go across the room to kind of hold it together. And the horizontal crack is right by one of the beams.
Right.
Now, my suspicion is that the foundation underneath the addition, it isn't good, or there are issues there, and that there's been some settlement as a result. You know, you can't really tell from this, but we are on a bit of a kind of a hill almost, and so we get a lot of water that rushes down towards the pond. And so I don't know if that in turn has been sort of diminishing the integrity of the foundation that's under that addition, but there are definitely some issues there that need to be addressed in some fashion. And when we put everybody's heads together on this, we got to do something, and poured concrete makes the most sense. The only way to do that is to kind of start over.
And you've been in the house since 2015, correct?
Correct.
Looking at the pictures behind you, the house to the right,
Yep.
looks like it was redone. Was that before you moved in or after?
Actually, it was just repainted. Yeah.
Oh, so that's the original house.
Yes, I believe so.
It looks like it's been redone.
You
say
it's
it's
just
like
like
one of the
ones David did. It's like a bookend addition, because the middle part looks like a Federalist kind of old fashioned.
It used to be red. I may see a difference in it.
Oh, yeah.
Actually,
It does. I mean, you know, and for what it's worth, my wife and I walk along that street quite a bit. It seems like a lot of the homes have been renovated.
If we go down a little bit further, you know, there have been some pretty significant renovations on the street. I know, for instance, this one on the corner was redone. I don't know how long ago that was.
About 5 years.
This one in the back here was redone recently to kind of add this, it's sort of connection. They have some nice vistas of the pond from there. There's definitely been some work done on the street recently, but I don't think Pam and Joe's house there, other than the painting.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
I don't have a lot of questions. The site plan that you have, it looks like you cut the barn listed as a garage. There's not a garage underneath it, is there?
There's actually currently a garage that goes into the middle, so the driveway leads
Goes up that hill, right?
Yes.
The banks of the, yeah, I drove by it early today. And, just took a look at it, it's pretty tight. Alright, so that's, and when you get that done, is that gonna be used for a garage or you just, probably not?
No, we've gotten along. I won't let anybody in there. That's
Yeah,
not.
I get it.
And so I think we've gotten along without it. We're just gonna try to have, the artist.
Nice loft.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
I'm good. That's the point.
Motion to close the hearing?
Second.
All right. Let's vote by hand for all those wanna close. That's 5-0. Okay. Discussion. So remember, when doing a variance, you really got to go step to the standards, special circumstances, little interpretation causing hardship, and desirable relief can be granted without substantial detriment. So if I were to step to that, special circumstances, it's a super tiny lot, with all the lots down there. So it's not necessarily that that lot is unique, but it's very narrow. They're not on sewer, they're on septic, so they're going to be limited there as well. So certainly, shape, topography, the whole thing. Certainly, I would think that there are special circumstances that standard would be met. Little interpretation would cause hardship if they wouldn't be able to do anything. you wouldn't be able to get the proper height, so you'd probably get a lot less square footage on your second floor to have reasonable bedrooms, and obviously touching everything, you're gonna meet, current, building, regulations, you're gonna have to meet all the updated, energy requirements.
Egress and all that stuff.
All that stuff. Greg knows what he's doing, he's been doing it for a very long time. As a licensed builder myself, I can certainly say those older homes and the pitches, yeah, they wouldn't be able to, they'd be kind of stuck with what they have. And then third, desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment. It's still, the thing I actually personally find most pleasing about this is that they're really doing everything they can to keep the house almost unchanged. I mean, at least appearance from the street. To me, I think that it would be probably cheaper to tear it down and start over. Obviously, then you'd have the challenges with meeting all the current zoning bylaws, but it's probably not cheaper to try and renovate what's there and make it all work. Probably taking on a bigger project than you realize. So that's the way I sort of look at it.
I agree, obviously the paint color they're choosing is wrong. No, I totally agree, it's the whole district there, so every lot there is not much. To get everything up to modern standards, you're gonna, drove by, it's very tight.
I agree also. And I think the fact that you're trying to keep the house, it's looking the same as it does now, is commendable.
Cool. I'm slightly confused. I thought this was being demolished. In order to demolish the existing single-family home in barn to construct a new home in the garage. It didn't say.
There'll be some, they're not raising the house.
You're not going to the whole house, you're just taking pieces of it off?
I'm sorry, I think I misunderstood.
You're going
We are
to demolish, you're
trying
going to a meeting
doing a total
at the
demolition.
historic commission to demolish the house.
Correct.
And
Gotcha.
replace it with what you're
With
doing.
one,
Yes.
okay.
Okay,
Good clarification.
I think that's two. It's probably two in the last 2 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Last 8 years maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
obviously,
leading my own now,
yeah,
your chair.
it's obviously going, in front of the board for the demolition permit, but,
I agree with everything you said.
yeah, I'm trying to maintain the character of the neighborhood and putting up a house that pretty much looks the same, but is more modern, more energy efficient, meets all the safety and building regulations and energy regulations, etc. I would think would be desirable. Okay, so anybody want to make a motion?
Move to approve.
Seconded.
Look at you stepping up. That's right, so, any discussion? No, I say no, we'll do, all those in favor? That's 5-0. So, at this point, it's just get the demo permit, and once that's approved, then we can go ahead and, release this, and then, was it 20 days, 30 days, how long is it?
Is it appeal period? The decision will be prepared.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you're
Thank
good.
you all so much.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Yeah, good luck.
Good luck. Do you want your binder back?
Excuse me?
Do you want your binder back?
Yeah, I'll take those back. We can pull things out as long as you don't put plasters.
I don't get to keep the zoning cheat sheet, or do I?
You can,
Outstanding.
you can.
They'll just show up in,
Just don't
they'll
take
show up in your
classes.
binder every single one.
Yeah.
Oh, they're all gonna show up anyway?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, you're gonna make them
Up to
print
you.
it off.
Up to you.
Just leave them in.
So, yeah, the binders, these attachments, you're gonna do these binders each time.
I think that's huge. I don't know why
This
nobody's
you
talking
sign,
about it
everybody signs
before.
together. When you sign the front,
Yeah.
don't date it, cause I'm gonna go tomorrow. And then
Yeah,
the back page,
I-
everybody signs the
I
back.
used
I
to
agree with
drag
you.
around a 3-ring binder of all the bylaws and flipping through and I got a bunch of post-its in there,
Yeah.
trying different things.
And then this
And
one is the front.
this is huge.
I also have a meeting at night.
I have a diagram,
Oh, okay.
a really nice diagram. I'll add it to
I
that.
think I correctly only.
I'm gonna start
have-
with you and you pass them around, just so we have order here. We're not dating anything. Just make sure you're doing the right
I'm just
thing.
making sure I'm not taking any of the consistent meeting to meeting material.
Ed, sign that.
This is the first time we had a lot of
Yes, sir.
offers.
It's been a while.
Very-
Alright, so the deny.
So this one, and I'll pass this one around here. That's right. So these are gonna get filed, you will have a sense they can make multiple boards and commissions. I'm gonna need it right now, sorry. You know, he's on the planning board.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
We still on
He's
the
not the
record.
chair.
Yeah, we
Turn
have
it down.
to, we still have to
Either
approve the minutes.
Okay, that's.
We are still on.
So I look at him.
Pardon me?
We are still,
It's
Jeremy
still
has,
green.
we're still on the record, we are. We have to, we are still on the record.
You're in the tape.
No, on the hearing, we have to approve the minutes, which we did.
Oh, the minutes.
Yeah, we hadn't closed the meeting.
No, that's,
Oh, I'm so
I'm saying
sorry.
on the record, yeah, the meeting's still open.
Oh,
Oh, I see, okay.
oh, I'm so sorry.
So-
Yeah, cause we didn't.
Can you pass this around if it goes around?
Yeah, yeah, we
That's
didn't.
Correct.
That's the lawyer in me.
No, no, I want you to.
You do
Right.
that.
Alright, the only thing left,
Oh,
you're
my
being
goodness,
generous.
no.
Everything I ever said about lawyers, I take it back.
Yeah, review and approval of minutes.
Okay, so,
Do you see where they are?
I did take the time to carefully read through them,
Okay.
and I thought I saw one sort of typo on page 2 at the top.
Page 2.
It says it would suffer, as it reads, it says it would suffer a substantial harm, and it
Change it
should
to
be
hardship.
hardship.
I will change that.
And then, at the end, it said that the meeting was adjourned at 7:45 PM. That can't be right.
We were in and out, it must have been 6:45.
I think that should be 6:45.
Oh, I'll check it. I'll check.
That's funny. We go through and I'm looking for big details and not little details.
Good catch. Okay, I will make those changes.
Take care of your
So
pennies,
you can vote to
dogs,
approve
and
with
take care of
changes.
themselves.
Make a motion to approve with changes.
Secondly,
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise, it's 5-0. Alright, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Alright, second by Mr. Karn. Alright, all those in favor? That is 5-0. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, John, for reminding us that we were,
Thank you.
hadn't voted to close yet.
Thank you, John.
Oh,
Nice to see you all.